Things I do for photography, yeah. See this? That's how deep the snow was back there. Come here initially to get some photos, which I've done. I was going to record a wee video in the process. I think I'm going to have to just turn back now. Ordinarily I was going to speak about an article that had irritated me using my old phone to read it out. But after falling more or less literally balls deep in the snow, I'm just going to have to walk back now to my car, which is like a mile and a half away. But regardless, I can still remember more or less what the article contained. It was just the latest in a long line of SNP politicians who refer to the same thing as they always do. But in this context, it was the Daily Record had put out a story, I think it was just yesterday, and the SNP politician in question, I can't remember her name. This is why I was on about needing my old phone to refresh my memory. She'd basically been talking about the updated Scottish Government funded migration service, or information service, which has two preferable outcomes long term, one of which is to give immigrants and employers all the necessary information that they need, and the second long term outcome that they hope to see materialise is, and should be, a means to reverse our declining birth rate, or our demographic decline. Listen to my whaley. Jesus. But this is the point. You know, what pisses me off, what's irritated me for so many years now, is these terms, the terminology. Demographic decline. Ageing population. Well, simultaneously, if people like myself, or anybody else for that matter, dares to utter the words replacement migration, we are deemed as far right, conspiratorial, Nazis, fascists, etc., racists even. But yet, these people talk about it all the time. They just don't use the same terminology that I or yourself may do. When they talk about an ageing population, what do they mean? What they mean is that more people in Scotland in the future will be elderly and will require support. And there's not enough people at present being born to be able to look after these people in a medical capacity in the future. Hence the term ageing population. If everybody was having children, then there would be no such a thing as an ageing population. Okay? That's the first thing. Demographic decline. What do they mean by that? Same thing, realistically. You know they're not speaking about race and or ethnicity, more specifically. What they're speaking about, again, is an ageing population. Demographics. Age. More people are growing elderly than are being born. Scotland's population, in terms of birth rate, is at a record low. We are below replacement level. Hence why they continuously talk about requiring either devolved immigration or devolved immigration powers in order to rectify the problem. They never specifically, nor do they ever specify any other means to try and rectify the problem. They just simply revert to immigration. And again, it comes back to my point about tropes and conspiratorial language and far-right fascistic statements. It's nothing of the sort. If you're importing people to have children on behalf of the native population because the native population aren't having enough children, then it stands to reason that eventually, mathematically speaking, you are going to see the scales tipping eventually, maybe not necessarily in my lifetime, most certainly in my hypothetical grandchild's lifetime, less natives and more newcomers. You know? Whether it's rural visa pilot schemes, whether it's devolved immigration powers, whether it's migration services, you will always hear the same shite. In terms of, my economy, we need people to work in the tourism sector and to pick fruit. But then they will always drop in, subtly, either an aging population and or demographic decline. It's not a conspiratorial topic, nor is it a conspiratorial talking point, nor is it far right to point out the obvious. You know? You don't even need to read between the lines, these people are saying it to your face. And that's been one of my biggest bugbears for many years now. You know? You can't force people to have children. And sadly in this day and age, modernity, as well as just the modern day, the present day, materialism and careers, etc., are more desired than family life, traditionalism, etc. You can't force people to have children. I think this would have to, fundamentally, would have to start in schools. Revert back to the days of old, where you can, at the very bare minimum, tell kids and or adolescents, teenagers, whatever, that there's absolutely nothing wrong with striving for motherhood and or parenthood. It should be encouraged, promoted, or at the very bare minimum, it should be an equal balance. Because at present, what you see is the polar opposite of that. You know, we girls are taught to reach for the stars. You know, they can be whatever a man can be, etc. And nobody's disputing otherwise. Of course, a woman can go into any field that she wants to. There's laws in place to ensure that that could occur. But the reality of the matter is that you hear it all the time. All the fucking time. You know? Women that want to go into politics, they have to juggle the responsibilities of politics and their home life, you know, with their children. Like, it's always sort of emphasised or it's suggested that having a child is a burden. You know? Feminist shit has completely ruined the fabric of society, as well as many other factors, but that is a big one. Motherhood should be promoted. Marriage should be promoted. Yeah. I mean, if I had my way, click a finger, I'd be in one of those sort of so-called traditional family households. You know, things just ain't necessarily worked out for me, but that doesn't mean that I don't want that to be the case for me going forward at a later date. There's so many people my age, I'm a man who's still in my 20s, there's so many people my age who have absolutely no desire to settle down and have kids. You know? I just think there's a lot of things that are going wrong in society as a bystander or as an observant. It just fucks me off. We need to put all this funding into our migration service just so, you know, people have all the information they need because we have to resolve our declining demography. Well, what are you doing about it? Like, where's the concern? Where the fuck is the concern? There is no concern. Because as I've said in so many videos in the past, not that I make many nowadays, but the reality of the matter is, we have completely normalised the idea that anybody can be Scottish in a Scottish context. What I'm saying could be applicable to literally any other country in the European or Anglosphere, whatever. But in the Scottish context, we have normalised the idea that anybody can be Scottish. Henceforth, that's what I would argue is why there is such a lack of legitimate concern from our so-called politicians, leaders, etc. Anybody can be Scottish, therefore, when the native birth rate continues to plummet and decline. Record low birth rates, by the way, since 1855. But there's a decline in our births. But it's fine. We'll just import more Scottish people from Zambia. Just saying. I don't know what the answer is. I mean, even the way that I'm speaking right now, yeah, these are things that should be done, could be done, would be done in an ideal world, but they're not going to be, are they? But that's the reality when you hear these politicians speak this way. Declining birth rates, or population challenges, or demographic decline. Read between the lines. Read between the lines. They're talking about. You know what I mean? That's your fucking future. That's your people. Yeah. Anyway. Just want to get that off my chest. Because I'm telling you, man, in 100 years' time from now, if the trends continue the way they are, mine and your grandchildren and or grandchild, if you've even got any by that point, will be on the cusp of being a minority here. All because our wet wipe ball bag politicians are able to achieve what they want, which is opening the floodgates, so to speak, to rectify demographic decline.